Welcome back to the Hardware Unboxed News Corner. It's that time of year where most people go out and buy stuff that's on sale. You've probably already seen a ton of posts and videos about the best Black Friday deals, so I'll spare you from more of that. Plus, these days it seems sales come and go so quickly that even if I did make a Black Friday roundup video, all the good deals would probably be selling out by the time we get around to publishing it. That said, if you do want some recommendations from us, I have put some links below to our favorite products of the year. If any of them go on sale or are listed at good prices, you'll probably be getting a pretty good deal, so check those out, links in the description below. Also, we currently have 15% off store-wide on the Hardware Unboxed store, so if you're interested in grabbing a happy unboxing holiday t-shirt or sweater, those are available from the links below. They are limited edition items, so they won't be around next year. We also have mugs, hoodies have been quite popular, we have t-shirts, all that good stuff, and best of all, it helps support the channel and allows us to invest more in buying the hardware we test here for you guys. So thanks for the support. Check out 15% off the Hardware Unboxed store, links in the description. Alright, first topic I wanted to cover is the availability of AMD's new CPUs that they launched this month. So the Ryzen 9 3950X and both the Threadripper 3960X and 3970X. In the lead up to these launches, it sounded like these CPUs were probably not going to be on store shelves for very long, with retailers receiving very few units. AMD assured us that availability should be better than expected, especially in comparison to the 3900X, but it doesn't seem like it's panned out that way. Starting with the Ryzen 9 3950X, obviously this part was going to be in hot demand given the rave reviews from us and others. At its $750 price, it was never going to be the hottest overall product in the Ryzen lineup, given most gamers were all over the 6-core and 8-core variants, which were a bit better value. But still, for enthusiasts and semi-pro content creators that want HEDT-like performance on a mainstream desktop platform, the 3950X was always going to sell well. Except you can't buy one right now. It officially went on sale a few days ago, and right now on Amazon, for example, there isn't even a listing for the 3950X, although from what I gather there was one up briefly if you were lucky. Other Ryzen processors are available, including the 3900X, which up until recently has been hard to find, but no 3950X. At Newegg, it's even more dire. There is no stock for the 3950X or the 3900X. It's a similar story at most retailers, with varying availability on the 3900X, but zero stock for the 3950X. In Australia, for example, our favorite retailer, PC Case Gear, has no stock. So I'm interested to hear if anyone can actually find one at their local retailer in their region. Let me know if you do find one in your region in the comments below. Good luck finding a Threadripper 3960X or 3970X either. Again, no listing for these parts on Amazon, and both are out of stock at Newegg, despite Newegg selling both parts for $100 above the MSRP. We heard that Threadripper stock is ridiculously limited, to the point where some retailers only had the opportunity to purchase single-digit numbers of units for their store. Similarly, we've heard from retailers that AMD has only been able to ship a fraction of the 3950Xs that have been requested or ordered. Most retailers are buying every single unit of these CPUs that they can get, with demand significantly outpacing supply. This lack of availability continues to be an issue for AMD's product launches. While it's great these CPUs are in demand, needing to click through to your favorite retailer seconds after listings go live to nab one isn't really ideal. With reports of these products selling out in minutes, it's pretty clear that AMD once again didn't produce enough stock in their initial run to meet overwhelming demand. And let's be honest, after the reception to the rest of the Ryzen series, they should have seen this amount of demand coming, especially after delaying a part like the 3950X by over a month. Now, it's not uncommon for companies like AMD and Nvidia to run into availability issues in the first few weeks after launch, but what concerns me about the 3950X and Threadripper situation is we've just seen the 3900X remain out of stock and hard to find for months. I hope the 3950X comes into good stock soon, but I wouldn't hold my breath. This could be a situation where the 16-core part is hard to find well into the early stages of 2020, especially given most people buy a lot of PC components around this holiday period. So I hope AMD is able to sort this stuff out for some of their future launches and get their act together with availability, because yeah, having months of no stock is not a good situation. This next news topic has been in the pipeline for a little while, but it surprised me enough when I first heard about it that I wasn't sure whether it was accurate. That was until the wonderful guys at TFT Central were able to confirm it with Nvidia this week. Basically, Nvidia has developed a firmware update for their G-Sync modules that allows them to work flawlessly with standard adaptive sync protocols. So this includes HDMI VRR, which is the leading adaptive sync method used with TVs and game consoles, as well as DisplayPort's VESA adaptive sync standard. What this means is that the G-Sync module is now able to work with AMD graphics cards and Intel GPUs for variable refresh rates through both the included HDMI and DisplayPort inputs. Previously, the module was only compatible with Nvidia GPUs. Basically, this makes the G-Sync module just like any other scaler in that it's a way to enable and access adaptive sync or FreeSync, not that Nvidia will be using FreeSync branding here. The flow-on effect here is basically the total opening up of the G-Sync ecosystem to work with any product from any vendor. Moving forward, there should be no difference whether you buy something with FreeSync, adaptive sync, G-Sync, or even G-Sync compatible branding. All should work with Nvidia, AMD, and Intel GPUs, as well as game consoles that support variable refresh like the Xbox and perhaps upcoming consoles too. Plus, of course, Nvidia has already opened up the GPU side to work with all adaptive sync displays, so this is just doing the same thing on the monitor side. The downside is this firmware update cannot be applied to existing displays, at least by users, given there is no easy user accessible update port. Nvidia also says that you won't be able to request an update from your display manufacturer. This is only going to apply to new G-Sync monitors moving forward, with one of the first to support this being Acer's Predator XB273X, which is a 1080p 240Hz IPS model. It does seem like the G-Sync module will still command a premium price over standard adaptive sync scaler models. We're seeing the XB273X come in around $160 more than the XV273X equivalent, which comes without a G-Sync module. Nvidia claims the module is better with support for variable overdrive and certification to ensure decent colors and zero flickering, but we'll see how that plays out in practice. This raises the question as to why Nvidia would allow other devices to use their G-Sync displays, given for so long they've tried to cultivate G-Sync as a way to lock users into the Nvidia ecosystem. And for that, I have a few theories. The first is that we have seen barely any G-Sync monitor releases over the last year, and they've certainly been slowing down, especially since Nvidia allowed their GPUs to use FreeSync and adaptive sync monitors. This suggests monitor vendors aren't interested in locked down platforms and would rather not spend money on Nvidia's G-Sync module when they can offer a similar experience with a standard, cheaper, and more compatible scaler. By opening up G-Sync to give it the same compatibility as other options, it makes it more sellable to vendors that want to offer adaptive sync to both Nvidia and AMD GPU owners, and if they see the benefits in using Nvidia's custom solution. The other is that it seems the industry is heading towards more products using the capabilities of adaptive sync. More TVs support VRR through HDMI these days, and it sounds like next-gen consoles will integrate this feature too. If Nvidia kept G-Sync modules locked down to Nvidia cards, it would not only shut out PC gamers from other vendors, but console owners who often buy monitors to game with. Given Nvidia doesn't compete in the console space, it makes really no sense preventing console gamers from using VRR monitors, and that would in fact annoy buyers and make them more likely to choose something FreeSync. Of course, some people will undoubtedly complain about Nvidia's lockdown ecosystem and how bad it was from the start. And to an extent, I agree, it would have been nice for Nvidia to support open adaptive sync standards much sooner than they have. On the other hand, they were first to market with adaptive sync and needed custom stuff on the GPU and display side to do it, so I can't blame them entirely for initially going with G-Sync modules that didn't work with other vendors. It was a totally custom solution. But at this point, this was really the only move for Nvidia to make. They were going to have to open up G-Sync at some point, and they've chosen 2019 to do it. This is going to make it a lot easier for monitor buyers in the future, and yeah, I'm happy it's happened. Dell has taken the extraordinary move of publicly blaming Intel for impacting their fourth quarter forecasts. Last week, we covered the news of Intel publicly apologizing to their partners over ongoing supply issues, which Intel acknowledged were impacting their businesses. Well, now, one of those partners has confirmed the whole situation is indeed accurate. In a post-earnings call with Dell's Chief Operating Officer Jeffrey Clark, he said that Intel CPU shortages have worsened quarter over quarter, impacting our commercial PC and premium consumer consumer PC fourth quarter forecasted shipments. This is direct confirmation that not only are Intel's supply issues genuinely impacting the forecast for a company, but that the shortages are actually getting worse. Intel's initial letter didn't mention anything about the current state of their supply problems on 14 nanometer, other than saying they are ongoing. They didn't say whether they were getting better or getting worse. Dell hasn't gone into specifics here on how much the shortages will impact forecasts, although they actually had a decent quarter, increasing revenue by 5% year on year and increasing shipments of consumer PCs. However, the shortages are perhaps impacting Dell's ability to increase shipments further. TechLab was sick of waiting for Nvidia to release a GeForce RTX 2080 Ti Super, so decided to create one of their own. Their project, which you can watch on their YouTube channel, involved taking the 16 gigabits per second GDDR6 memory off of two RTX 2080 Super cards and putting it on an RTX 2080 Ti. This gave it a bump in speed from the 14 gigabit per second memory the card normally ships with. They needed to sacrifice two RTX 2080 Supers for the project because, of course, the 2080 Super only comes with 8 gigabytes of GDDR6, while the RTX 2080 Ti requires 11 gigabytes. So not exactly a cheap mod for anyone to do unless you can source the memory modules yourself. And of course, it's a very tricky process overall to remove the old modules, unsolder the 16 gigabits per second modules from the RTX 2080 Supers without destroying them, and then resolder them back onto the 2080 Ti. The video is pretty interesting overall, definitely worth a watch, and while it isn't in English, there are English subtitles available. The project did work overall, and they were able to get the cards running at 17.2 gigabits per second overclock on the memory before the memory controller hit its limit, so very impressive stuff. Of course, who knows whether Nvidia will release an RTX 2080 Ti Super for real, given they have the Titan RTX on the market. All supercards in the RTX range have increased CUDA core counts as well, while the RTX 2080 Super is the only card to get faster memory. Given the Titan RTX increases the 2080 Ti's core count already, it doesn't seem like there's much room in the stack, although I guess there is a possibility of a place for a cheaper model without 24 gigabytes of VRAM that is based on that RTX Titan design. Time for the usual series of quicker topics to round out the video. This one is pretty amusing. A selection of HP Enterprise SAS solid-state drives have been discovered to fail completely after 32,768 hours of operation. So this is 3 years, 270 days, and 8 hours of usage, so well within the normal lifespan you'd hope from an enterprise-level drive, especially one that's operating 24/7. The bug with the firmware is serious enough to brick the drive completely, making data unrecoverable. HPE warns that after the SSD failure occurs, neither the SSD nor the data can be recovered. That's all from what appears to be a 16-bit integer overflow issue, given if you split integers into positive and negative values, the maximum positive value is 32,767. So when that ticks over to 32,768, boom, yeah, the drive is dead. Some of the SSDs have already been patched, while the rest will be addressed in an update during the week of December 9. Anyone using these drives should urgently update them, although I suspect most of those will be in enterprise settings where HPE has already sent out the appropriate messages. At last week's supercomputing conference, Nvidia has quietly released a new version of their powerful Tesla V100 GPU, based on their Volta architecture. The card is bizarrely called the Tesla V100S, which confused Anantech when they first spotted it, but this is actually a new card, not just a name for multiple V100s. The card packs 16.4 teraflops of single precision compute performance, compared to 14 for the regular older V100. HBM2 memory bandwidth is also increased from 900 gigabytes per second to 1134 gigabytes per second, indicating that both the GPU and memory have received clock speed increases. Despite this, the card retains its same 250 watt TDP rating. No word on actual pricing or a release date for this one. And finally, we have word that overclocker TSAIK has been able to achieve an insane overclock on the Ryzen Threadripper 3970X across all of its 32 cores. The frequency they achieved and validated on liquid nitrogen, of course, was 5.752 GHz, which is well above its base clock of 3.7 GHz and boost of 4.5 GHz. Even that boost is only for a single core. The 3970X runs well below that, stock at least in all core workloads. The board used for that overclock was MSI's TRX40 Creator at 1.1 volts. Not a practical overclock by any means, but it just goes to show what AMD's Zen 2 architecture on 7 nanometers can do when it's cooled to sub-zero temperatures, even across a whopping 32 cores. That's it for this week's News Corner. Subscribe as always to get this segment in your inbox every week. Do all the usual stuff. Support us on Patreon if you want to. Don't forget about the 15% off the Hardware Unboxed store. And I'll catch you in the next one.